Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Schiff has a CV in your program. He's spoken at FreedomFest many, many times, and you are here to listen to him, not me, so I'll be very brief. Now, it's a very great pleasure for me to work with Peter at Euro Pacific Capital, and I say it's a great pleasure for three main reasons. One is that Peter has the ability to see through the smoke and mirrors of government propaganda, of government cooked statistics, and the supportive media of the establishment. So, seeing through this smoke and mirrors, Peter gets it of what's really happening in the world, in my opinion. Secondly, Peter has that great ability to articulate very complex issues in simple words so that people can really understand them. And he also has the courage to tell the truth. And in today's world, telling the truth does take courage. Now, Peter not only sees what's going on, in my opinion, but he offers real solutions, both for you and me as investors and survivors, and also for our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure and privilege for me to introduce to you the Chief Executive Officer of Euro Pacific Capital and great speaker, Mr. Peter Schiff.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks, John, for introducing me. Hopefully I can make it through my presentation. Losing some of my voice. I was out a little late last night here in Las Vegas. I'm not as young as I used to be. When I first started coming to FreedomFest, I was at Mark Skousen's very first one, and it's really blossomed into a great event, despite the fact that I think every year I come here, we have less freedom to be festive about, which is an unfortunate situation. But also, I think what I like to talk about is what we can do to try to preserve what freedom we have left with respect to our financial assets, our portfolios. I think many, many Americans are going to find that not only are they losing their liberties, but they're going to lose a lot of their wealth, especially if that wealth consists of U.S. dollar-denominated debt instruments, whether they're treasuries, whether they're municipal bonds, corporate bonds, and even real assets, U.S. stocks, U.S. real estate, are going to lose a significant real value. Nominal value, it's harder to know what's going to happen to the nominal price of any given asset, but it really, I think, is immaterial. What matters is the purchasing power that the assets convey. And the reason I say I don't know the nominal is I don't know how much money Janet Yellen is going to print. I believe it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a record. I think she's going to eclipse the money printing of Bernanke and Greenspan combined. And so I don't know what the dollar will buy. So I think the most important thing from investors is to be cognizant of what's going to happen and to make sure that your financial assets are invested in the appropriate manner to come through this. And I think even more importantly than maybe even preserving the wealth for yourself and for your family, but I do believe if we are going to try to be active personally in helping to rebuild the country, helping to make sure that after this crisis that is coming, and I'm going to get to that, and it will be much worse in just about every respect than 2008. I mean, it is going to be the worst economic period, I think, in the United States, bar none, including the Great Depression. I mean, it won't be as bad as the Civil War or something like that, but as far as an economic event, it's going to be bad. For investors, the majority of the investors, it's going to be very bad. But I think the only opportunity, the silver lining to that cloud is the opportunity to really get the country back in the right direction. See, the problem is all of these solutions to the problems that we have, and there are solutions, but they are not politically viable given the democratic state that we now unfortunately find ourselves living in. A lot of the safeguards that our founders put in place to protect us from democracy no longer exist. And so unfortunately, economic policy is made based on whatever the populace wants to support. And unfortunately, very few Americans really even understand what needs to be done, including a lot of the members of Congress. But people are not going to vote for the right thing. I mean, look at how many people are in favor of the minimum wage. That shows you the level of economic understanding, even among experts, even among economists that are professors at our universities. Many have Nobel Prizes, and they still somehow believe the minimum wage is a good idea. So that is, the level of understanding, even among the brightest. So how do you expect the average American voter who's been brainwashed in government schools his entire life to understand anything? So they're not going to vote for real solutions. And the politicians have no impetus to try to deliver any kind of bad news to the voters. They don't have any will to ask the voters to swallow any medicine that might cure the economy because it's going to taste bad. But I think a complete economic collapse, which fortunately I think is coming, that might provide the motivation to finally do something. So hopefully people in this room, if you can preserve your wealth with our help, will be able to be active in that movement, trying to get Americans to understand that the source of the problems that they're going to be living through is not capitalism, is not the free market, it's not greed or just the evils of capitalism, unchecked capitalism. It's not because we didn't have enough government and we didn't have sufficient regulation to rein in the wild capitalists. The problems are all going to be and have been created by government. And the things that the government does supposedly to protect us, those are the very programs, the taxes, the regulations, the spending that is the source of the problem. And we need people to be able to articulate that and work to motivate people to roll back all that government, to have a second American Revolution where we re-embrace all of the founding principles that we abandoned over the years. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a lot easier to do if there are people that have financial wealth and have the ability to fund candidates who have the right messages and organizations that are working towards those goals. We've passed out a bunch of index cards. If you don't have one, let one of the brokers know. There's a few brokers from the Los Angeles office of Euro Pacific Capital. We have 6 offices. And so make sure and fill them out so we have the ability to get a hold of you and talk about these strategies more individually. Also, if you get on my mailing list, if you're not already on it, we put out newsletters. We put out a lot of information. We write a lot. I write, John Brown writes. We send emails of the commentaries that we write. Also, I talk, if anybody doesn't listen to my daily radio show, I'm doing a show now every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon, or most weekdays unless I'm traveling or something. But you can listen to it at schiffradio.com. I also moved, so we have 6 offices. My asset management company, which handles all of our separately managed accounts, which we added about 4 or 5 years ago.